Let us for a few minutes meditate on the Divine Master and set our mind to hear his teachings. Dharmasya sarvadharma swarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma mritangamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let us offer our salutations to Sri Ramakrishna, the embodiment of all religions, the Supreme God incarnate. Let us pray to the Divine Spirit to remove all our ignorance, to go forward in our spiritual path, to give enough strength to meet all challenges in our ways. We have been studying chapter 18 of the Gospel. Sri Ramakrishna was talking to the devotees. He has given number of instructions how to conduct oneself in the world. We have to have different steps, then only we can go through the path without much difficulty. First of all, we must have inclination to go spiritual way. Once that is certain, then the next step would be to take proper steps, to choose a path and then go forward. That's all that is needed to be done. All the difficulties will be solved in course of time. We are not to worry about the obstructions or difficulties that might crop up in our way. Our concentration should be how to develop true love towards God, how to have His vision, how to communicate with Him, how to experience immense peace and bliss. Well, Sri Ramakrishna has said many important things to be followed. He was talking to Kedar, one of the devotees. He said, he who has renounced the world has already made great progress. Sri Ramakrishna is giving this statement to make him understand how it is essential to practice renunciation. Renunciation simply means this. It means give the whole mind to God. Give up everything else for His sake. Let all your activities be coordinated from that standpoint. In the domain of Maya, there is both Vidya and Avidya, knowledge and ignorance, light and darkness. What is Vidya? What is knowledge? The true knowledge is that which leads one towards reality. In other words, the truth that which leads one to God. Avidya or ignorance is that which leads one away from God. Again, Sri Ramakrishna points out that spiritual discrimination, what we call Viveka, using our intellect properly to sort out what is good, what is bad, what is real, what is unreal, and renunciation, they are in the realm of Vidya. So by taking refuge in Vidya, by constantly dwelling upon Viveka and Vairagya, you actually take refuge in God. The other way, lust, anger, greed, egotism, attachment, jealousy, all these constitute avidya. They are all clubbed as ignorance, darkness, tamas. By cultivating discrimination and renunciation, this dreadful avidya will be destroyed. Avidya must be destroyed in order to have the vision of God. If one yields to avidya, God remains far away and suffering will be our lot. There are both avidya and vidya in this world. One has the power to choose the one for the other. Both they present themselves nicely before us. Come on, we are ready to serve you. Both vidya and avidya are ready to embrace you. But you must be careful enough whom to embrace. That's very important point. So one's success or failure in life depends on the nature of his choice. He will reap the fruits of his choosing. No one is to blame. One will reap the fruits of one's own choosing. In order to choose properly what is good, it is advised that you should have holy association and you must have intense desire to have the vision of God. When once a person of renunciation is released from the bondage of the world, he never wants to be caught again. He is like a fish that has escaped from the net. It doesn't want to be caught again. Sri Ramakrishna used to say. So, we should renounce lust and greed and make the Lord your sole treasure. He is our sole treasure. First we should practice renunciation mentally. Outward renunciation will follow if we detach our mind from the transitory, unreal things of the world and attach the mind to God. That adjustment we have to make. Mind has been attached to the world, so we are getting the effects of the world. Detach the mind from the world, attach it towards God. You will get the beauty of God. So, Sri Ramakrishna is emphasizing in his teaching that give up this transitory world. Never run after it. Renounce it, give up everything for the sake of the Lord. The Lord is father and mother. He is everything. So, when we shall give up worldly enjoyments and pass our days thinking of God and contemplating Him, then only shall we make our human life blessed and inherit true happiness. As long as the mind wants to enjoy, so long you will not develop true devotion to God. Because the enjoyment is the main obstruction on the way. It stops your progress. It doesn't allow you to go forward. So, he who has this attitude, O Lord, this body, this mind, this understanding, I offer everything to you. They are yours. Make them your instruments. A person who has such a feeling, such an attitude, such a person is said to be a man of renunciation who has given himself up completely to God, keeping nothing for himself. Everything belongs to him, including himself. So he doesn't entertain the idea I and mine. They are dissolved. The main factors that count in spiritual life are renunciation, detachment, purity, and sincere hankering for God vision. These are the essential factors. One cannot get any taste of the bliss of Brahman. You can't have any idea about how the happiness of God vision would be unless you give up this cheap happiness of this world. So you have to develop vairagya. It depends upon past impressions. One gets it only when one is free from all desires and not otherwise. If any desire is left in the mind, the spirit of renunciation cannot come, because that desire keeps you almost busily engaged. In order to become stabilized in renunciation and dispassion, one must try to become absorbed while repeating with single-minded devotion the name of God. How far you really want Him, how far you really love Him, how far you are really devoted to God, all these things you will understand to the extent your mind sits on God. If you are able to concentrate on the Divine Spirit, on the Divine Form, in whatever approach, whatever way you are offering your devotion to God, how far you are able to concentrate on that, your spiritual realization depends on that. In order to realize the truth, you will have to scale the highest peak of renunciation. If one doesn't want sense enjoyments, if one hates the approach of any thought of it in the mind of, then of their own accord, all these desires for sense enjoyments, sense objects, they fly away. To give an example, suppose I don't like the company of a particular individual. So because I don't like him, I don't want to talk to him, thus showing my constant dislike for him. Then that person will come to know gradually, oh, this man is distancing himself from me, doesn't want to be associated with me anymore. So in a few days, he of his own accord will stop coming to me. In the same way, here also. One succeeds in driving away the desires for sense enjoyments if only one makes an effort for that. It is because we cling to sense objects that desire for them does not leave us. That's the point. Abhedanji, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, used to say, enjoyment can never destroy enjoyment. It is only through renunciation that one can go beyond enjoyment. Renunciation alone can bring peace. So, this central point, Sri Ramakrishna made the devotees understand, even if they are householders, that spirit of renunciation must be there in their heart. Their home must be full of spiritual activity, less and less material type of activities. More and more of spiritual activities must be there in the home. So we must create that atmosphere, that spirit of renunciation must be always bright in our heart, so that we are no more deluded by the worldly attractions. Anything that distracts the mind from the truth must be given up. That is the meaning of renunciation. Holding on to the truth till we realize it and devoting all our energy towards achieving the goal. Renunciation is very important. So, our progress in spirituality or our result in our efforts, all these are considered to the extent, to what extent we have renunciation. So we have to examine ourselves and prepare properly, then it is possible. So Sri Ramakrishna said these things. That was one of the important teachings in the last class which I read. Page 373. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the master was sitting in his room with M, Rakal, Latu, Harish and other devotees. Addressing M and Balram, the master said, Haldari followed the path of knowledge. Day and night he used to study the Upanishads, the Adhyatma Ramayana and similar books on Vedanta. He would turn up his nose at the mention of the forms of God. Once I ate from the leaf plates of the beggars. At this Haladari said to me, how will you be able to marry your children? I said, you rascal, shall I ever have children? May your mouth that repeats words from the Gita and the Vedanta be blighted. Just fancy. He declared that the world was illusory and again would meditate on the temple of Vishnu with turned up nose. In the evening, Balram and the other devotees returned to Calcutta. The master remained in his room, absorbed in contemplation of the Divine Mother. After a while, the sweet music of the evening worship in the temples was heard. A little later, the master began to talk to the mother in a tender voice that touched the heart of M, who was seated on the floor. After repeating Hari Om, Om, the master said, "Mother, don't make me unconscious with the knowledge of Brahman. Mother, I don't want Brahmajnana. I want to be merry. I want to play." Again he said, "Mother, I don't know the Vedanta. And Mother, I don't even care to know the Vedas and the Vedanta remain so far below when thou art realized, O Divine Mother." Then he said, "O Krishna, I shall say to thee, eat my child. Take this, my child. O Krishna, I shall say to thee, my child, thou hast assumed this body for my sake." Rakhal, Latu, Harish, Ramlal and M had been staying with Sri Ramakrishna at the temple garden. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, M found the master on the west porch of his room, engaged in conversation with a tantric devotee. The tantric was wearing an ochre cloth. Sri Ramakrishna asked M to sit by his side. Perhaps the master intended to instruct him through his talk with the tantric devotee. Mahima Chakravarti had sent the latter to the master. Master to the tantric, he said, "It's a part of the tantric discipline to drink wine from a human skull. This wine is called Karana. Isn't that so?" I said, "Yes, sir." Master said, "But I cannot touch wine at all." Tantric, "You have spontaneous divine bliss. One who enjoys that bliss wants nothing else." Master said, "I don't care for japa and austerity, but I have constant remembrance and consciousness of God. Tell me, when they speak of the 6 centers, what do they mean?" Tantric answered, "These are like different holy places. In each of the centers dwell Shiva and Shakti. One cannot see him with the physical eyes. One cannot take them out by cutting open the body." Yam listened silently to the conversation. Looking at him, the master asked the tantric devotee, "Can a man attain perfection without the help of a bija mantra, a sacred word from the Guru?" Tantric said, "Yes, he can if he has faith in the words of the Guru." The master turned to him and said, drawing his attention, "Faith?" After the tantric devotee had taken his leave, Jai Gopal Sen, a member of the Brahma Samaj, arrived. The master talked with him. Master to Jai Gopal said, "One should not harbor malice towards any person or any opinion. The believers in the formless God and the worshippers of God with form are all, without exception, going toward God alone. The jnani, the yogi, the bhakta, all without exception, are seeking Him alone. The follower of the path of knowledge calls Him Brahman, the yogi calls Him Atman or Paramatman, bhakta calls Him Bhagavan, Further it is said that there is the eternal Lord and his eternal servant. Jai Gopal. How can we know that all paths are true? Master said, a man can reach God if he follows one path rightly. Then he can learn about all the other paths. It is like reaching the roof by some means or other. Then one is able to climb down by the wooden or stone stairs, by a bamboo pole or even by a rope. A devotee can know everything when God's grace descends on him. If you but realize him, you will be able to know all about him. You should somehow meet the master of a house and become acquainted with him. Then he himself will tell you how many houses he owns and all about his gardens and government securities. Jai Gopal asked, how does one receive the grace of God? Master, constantly you have to chant the name and glories of God and give up worldly thoughts as much as you can. With the greatest effort, you may try to bring water into your field for your crops, but it may all leak out through holes in the ridges. Then all your efforts to bring the water by digging a canal will be futile. You will feel restless for God when your heart becomes pure and your mind free from attachment to the things of the world. Then alone will your prayer reach God. A telegraph wire cannot carry a message if it has a break or some other defect. I used to cry for God alone. I used to cry for God all alone. With a longing heart, I used to weep, O God, where art thou? Weeping thus, I would lose all consciousness of the world. My mind would merge in the Mahavayu. How can one attain yoga? By completely renouncing attachment to worldly things. The mind must be pure and without blemish, like the telegraph wire that has no defect. One mustn't cherish any desire whatever. The devotion of a man who has any desire is selfish. But desireless devotion is love for its own sake. You may love me or not, but I love you. This is love for its own sake. The thing is that one must love God. Through intense love, one attains the vision of Him, the attraction of the husband for the chaste wife, the attraction of the child for its mother, the attraction of worldly possessions for the worldly man. When a man can blend these three into one and direct it all to God, then he gets the vision of God. Jai Gopal was a man of the world, was this why the master gave instruction suited to him. At 8 o'clock that evening, the master was sitting in his room with Rakal and M. It was the 21st day of M's stay with Sri Ramakrishna. The master had forbidden him to indulge in reasoning. Master said to Rakal, it is not good to reason too much. First comes God and then the world. Realize God first, then you will know all about His world. To M and Rakal, he said, if first one is introduced to Jazu Malik, then one can know. If first one is introduced to Jazu Malik, then one can know everything about him, the number of his houses, gardens, government securities, and so on. For this reason, the Rishi Narada advised Valmiki to repeat the word Mara. Ma means God and Ra the world. First comes God and then the world. Krishna Kishore said that the word Mara is a holy mantra because it was given to Valmiki by the Rishi. Ma means God and Ra the world. Therefore, like Valmiki, one should at first renounce everything and cry to God in solitude with a longing heart. The first thing necessary is the vision of God. Then comes reasoning about the scriptures and the world. To M he said, That's why I have been telling you not to reason anymore. I came from the pine grove to say that to you. Through too much reasoning, your spiritual life will be injured. You will at last become like Hazra. I used to roam at night in the streets all alone and cry to the Divine Mother, O Mother, blight with thy thunderbolt my desire to reason. Tell me that you won't reason anymore. Yam said, yes sir, I won't reason anymore. Master said, everything can be achieved through bhakti alone. Those who want the knowledge of Brahman will certainly achieve that also by following the trail of bhakti. Can a man blessed with grace of God ever lack knowledge? At Kamarpakor I have seen grain dealers measuring paddy. As one heap is measured away, another heap is pushed forward to be measured. The mother supplies the devotees with the heaps of knowledge. After attaining God, one looks on a Pandit as a mere straw and dust. Padmalochan said to me, what does it matter if I accompany you to a meeting at the house of a fisherman? With you I can dine even at the house of Parya. Everything can be realized simply through love of God. If one is able to love God, one doesn't lack anything. Kartika and Ganesh were seated near Bhagavati, who had a necklace of gems around her neck. The Divine Mother said to them, I will present this necklace to him who is the first to go around the universe. Thereupon Kartika, without losing a moment, set out on the peacock, his carrier. Ganesha, on the other hand, in a leisurely fashion, went around the Divine Mother and prostrated himself before her. He knew that she contained within herself the entire universe. The Divine Mother was pleased with him and put the necklace around his neck. After a long while, Kartika returned and found his brother seated there with the necklace on. Weeping, I prayed to the mother, O mother, reveal to me what is contained in the Vedas and the Vedanta. Reveal to me what is in the Purana and the Tantra. One by one, she has revealed all these to me. Yes, she has taught me everything. Oh, how many things she has shown me. One day, she showed me Shiva and Shakti everywhere. Everywhere I saw the communion of Shiva and Shakti. And Shiva and Shakti existing in all living things, men, animals, trees, plants. I saw them in the communion of all male and female elements. Another day I was shown heaps of human heads, mountain high. Nothing else existed. And I was seated alone in their midst. Still another day she showed me an ocean. Taking the form of a salt dole, I was going to measure its depth. While doing this, through the grace of the Guru, I was turned to stone. Then I saw a ship and at once got into it. The helmsman was the Guru. I hope you pray every day to Sachidananda, who is a Guru. Do you? Master Maharaj said, yes sir. Master said, the Guru was the helmsman in that boat. I saw that I and you were two different things. Again I jumped into the ocean and was changed into a fish. I found myself swimming joyfully in the ocean of Sachidananda. These are all deep mysteries. What can you understand through reasoning? You will realize everything when God Himself teaches you. Then you will not lack any knowledge. Yes, any more questions? See, when we are struggling in this relative world, every aspect of sadhana has got its purpose. Practicing renunciation has to be done in order to fight out the vasanas. Otherwise, by constantly indulging in usual way of our activities, mind becomes more and more occupied with these vrittis, and chances of getting liberated from the vrittis may not arise at all. On the other hand, it makes the situation more complicated, more difficult. So the value of renunciation is stressed. And though there's only one reality, one without a second, what we call absolute Brahman, the substratum of everything. It is true, that is the final truth. But to realize that final truth, we have to start from where we are. As an embodied being, we are confronted with so many types of problems, situations in our life. So whatever the Mahatmas have said, they're all true in the final analysis. But what Sri Ramakrishna is telling, from the sadhaka point of view, even though there is one without a second, even though the truth is one, you have to have one, any particular form of God, so that you can go on with your spiritual practices as long as you are associated with your body, with your mind. You have to act in a proper way. Then slowly you will understand how the shackles of the world are loosened and how you are coming closer and closer to the truth. So, actually this aham vritti, how to, in the final analysis, the last stone to be removed from our path is aham. But then in our Upanishads it is stated how the mind should be filled up with brahmakara vritti. By constantly thinking Brahman, by constantly thinking God, that aham vritti is replaced. And actually, mind merges in the Atman when mind finds it has no function to act upon it. Because we go beyond the mind. We just stop the mind to act in any manner. So, by initiating that process, finally, we get into the final truth. And whatever the interpretations people might have given, but renunciation is to be practiced by everybody, whether a jnani, bhakti or karma yogi, whoever it is. Even Ramana Maharshi also had to go away from the home, giving up everything, go to solitude, spend hours in meditation, etc. That means mind giving up everything is called renunciation. That's the meaning of renunciation. I don't want anything else but the truth. I want truth, nothing else. So he was determined to realize the truth, and so whatever might be the difficulties on the way, he was prepared to face them. So he gave up everything. In fact, people will be always saying, oh, you can practice renunciation even remaining in the home. Why not? We give a separate room to you, spend 24 hours in the room. Why should you run away from the home? Like this, people give arguments. So, but anyway, we don't know how we are chained by, in what manner we will be chained by the things of the world. But true devotion comes, true love comes, true knowledge comes only through practice of renunciation. Renunciation simply means not desiring anything. All the desires that have accumulated in the mind in so many ways are to be given up. They are to be destroyed. They are to be buried. They are to be burnt down, etc. So, Sri Ramakrishna is giving this instruction from the point of view of the spiritual sadhaka. So, as long as we are on the path, we must know how to walk through the path and what are the difficulties that might come up on the way. So, Sri Ramakrishna has suggested this. Develop that renunciation, that mental attitude. If you are well established in that spirit, you always enjoy immense peace and joy. But it is not as easy as we talk about it. We are confronted with so many things such as fear. We are afraid of so many things. We are afraid of future. We are afraid of what happens next. So, a person who is really diverting his whole mind to the truth has not to fear at all. Fear for what? He has to ask himself that question. He is certain, he knows very well that he is independent of the body. So why should we be afraid of the body? He is independent of the mind. So why should we be afraid of the mind? So that way, he must practice a kind of detachment. That attitude one should develop. So these are the methods by which one can practice spirituality. That's what Sri Ramakrishna wants to say. Yeah. See, reasoning is just to trying to find out unnecessary details of the things, and continuous reasoning leads to a sort of developing doubts in the mind always. So when the doubts accumulate in the mind becomes restless, and one will lose the power of concentration, and he becomes dull, and he becomes agnostic. So too much of reasoning is not encouraged, but it's a general statement. It doesn't mean that reasoning should be completely discarded. Reasoning has its value, but that's a different approach. That is, in Jnana Marg, from the beginning to the end, you have to keep on reasoning what is what, etc. And stage by stage you have to arrive at the conclusions and pass on to the next stage. But generally, reasoning means a kind of futile arguments, futile discussions. That's the meaning which Sri Ramakrishna wants to impress upon. So we should not unnecessarily lose our mental power in wasteful talks like that. That's all the meaning. The intellectual faculty, that is the intellectual power which we call discrimination. To find out what is real, what is unreal, you must apply your mind thoroughly well and understand the things properly. And when you know what is correct, take it and reject what is not correct. That's the way. So it's called power of discrimination. Power of discrimination. I explained to you reasoning in the ordinary sense. Argument, talking for everything, arguing for everything. So that is to be stopped. Argument is, vichara is necessary up to certain level. Beyond that, it's not necessary. When you come to the implementation stage, you must just practicing it. There is no more, don't waste any more time in thinking about unnecessarily the things. Up to a certain point we can think, not beyond that. That's the idea. But Neti Marga is different. Neti Marga, as I said, that refers to Jnana Marga, the path of knowledge. And it is actually withdrawing yourself from all outward manifestations and resolving yourself into your own innermost self. So to go to your own innermost chamber, you have to give up one by one. So that is the meaning of Neti Neti. That's all. Jivatma is an involved being. The involved embodied being is called Jivatma. When the person is involved, when he is in the involved state, whatever it happens in his system, he is affected by it because of his involvement. So, by some process, if he is able to disidentify himself with this involvement, then he realizes his own Atman. The Atman is bereft of body and mind. It's pure consciousness, which is part and parcel of the Paramatma. It's just like sun and his rays. The ray is also part of the sun. But ray has got limited power. But it has got all the power of the sun. If by some method, if you can intensify the ray, the power of the ray, it can illuminate the whole thing like the sun. Just like fire and its sparks. The spark also has got the same potency as the fire. It may be a very small spark, but if you provide an opportunity for that spark to get manifested more, suppose you put some petrol or put some cotton or something, immediately it catches fire and it engulfs the whole thing. So just like that. So the Jivatma is the embodied being, in the sense the being, the Atman associated with body mind, involving itself in the activities of the mind, is called Jivatma. So after some spiritual practices, he wants to get rid of this association with the mind. So when he is able to separate himself from the mind consciously, then he establishes himself in the Atman. That's called Atmajnana. Once he gets that Atmajnana, then he if he wants to have the realization of the Paramatman, he can have it immediately. In what manner he wants, accordingly the realization will come. That's all. It's a degree of manifestation. But as long as we are associated with this body-mind, sufferings will be there. But if a person has understood a little, if he is able to dissociate himself with body-mind, even though it is suffering, even he is not affected by it. Sri Ramakrishna himself, you can take the example. He was suffering from cancer. He said, it is a body is suffering, and he never stopped talking about God, and he was always cheerful in spite of that severe cancer. So the nature of the body is decay and death. All these are related to the mind. All these are related to the mind. Yes, we shall stop. Chant the name of the Lord and His glory unceasingly, that the mirror of the heart may be wiped clean and quench that mighty forest fire, worldly lust, raging furiously within. O name, stream down in moonlight on the lotus heart, opening its cup to knowledge of thyself. O self, drown deep in the waves of his bliss, tasting his nectar at every step, bathing in his name that bath for weary souls. Various are thy names, O Lord, in each and every name thy power resides. No times are set, no rites are needful for chanting of thy name. So vast is thy mercy, how huge then is my wretchedness, who find in this empty life and heart no devotion to thy name. O my mind, be humbler than a blade of grass, be patient and forbearing like a tree, take no honor to thyself, give honor to all, chant unceasingly the name of the Lord. O Lord and soul of the universe, mine is no prayer for wealth or retinue, the playthings of lust or the toys of fame. As many times as may be reborn, grant me, O Lord, a steadfast love for thee. A drowning man in this world's fearful ocean, he is thy servant, O sweet one. In thy mercy, consider him as dust beneath thy feet. Oh, how I long for the day when an instant's separation from thee, O Lord, will be as 1,000 years, when my heart burns away with its desire, and the world without thee is a heartless void. Prostrate at thy feet let me be in unwavering devotion, neither imploring the embrace of thine arms, nor bewailing the withdrawal of thy presence, though it tears my soul asunder. O thou, who stealest the hearts of thy devotees, do with me what thou wilt, for thou art my heart's beloved, thou and thou alone. O Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real, lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. May all be free from dangers, may all realize what is good, may all be actuated by noble thoughts, may all rejoice everywhere. May all be happy, may all be free from disease, may all realize what is good, may none be subject to misery. May the wicked become virtuous, may the virtuous attain tranquility, may the tranquil be free from bonds, may the freed make others free. May good betide all people. May the sovereign righteously rule the earth. May all beings ever attain what is good. May the worlds be prosperous and happy. May the clouds pour rain in time. May the earth be blessed with crops. May all countries be freed from calamity. May holy men live without fear. May the Lord, the destroyer of sins, the presiding deity of all sacred works, be satisfied. For he being pleased, the whole universe becomes pleased. He being satisfied, the whole universe feels satisfied.